you ever let the color of your skin, where you come from, the environment you grew up in, stop you from chasing your dreams, baby, let's get it. My hand to please don't segregate. You dress in a suit, I can't relate. Minority Report, can't ignore being rich from poor and your credit score. My hand to please don't segregate. You dress in a suit, I can't relate. Minority Report, can't ignore being rich from poor and your credit score. See, all I wanna do.
Can you do that one again? That was weak, bro. That was weak. Do it again. I'm not even gonna re-edit. I just want you to do it again.
You'll just leave it, just bust me out there. Was that better?
That's better.
All right. Thanks, bro. Thanks for leveling my horn.
Look out for you.
How's your week, man?
Good, man.
Good.
I met with the business coach.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah.
Good thing I didn't ask you. This is a great conversation.
It was great, man. Like it was like a 2-hour long conversation, just kind of getting to know each other. And man, I just left that initial meeting just feeling I don't know, man, like revived. It feels real good. Yeah. And then it's funny because I was ready, like, hey man, like where do I sign up? What do I do? And he goes, well, maybe check this out first. I was like, no, man, like I'm ready. Let's just do it.
Nice.
So he actually won't have availability till like fall. But
not that far away.
Yeah, it's not that far away. It gives me time to get kind of my own stuff sorted out. But definitely, I'm at the point where I got to start investing in myself a lot more than just reading books and podcasts. So.
Yeah. No, and I'm excited for that too, because like we've been talking about the whole mental thing. Like I think it's a great. I think that obviously that's where everything starts mentally, and once you have that straightened out, I think not that you don't, but the more you work on it, the better you get. Yeah. So no, that's definitely exciting. I've been just busy, man. Like all my companies are just keeping me busy. Construction's doing great. And then actually I'll announce it on here. We haven't really came out on social media, but the wife finally retired, from.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So this was her first week kind of helping me out. So that was.
So now she's experiencing what it's like to manage rentals.
Yeah.
How's that going for her?
Well, it's funny because literally I was telling you, her comment was like, I don't know how the hell you do all this. Like you're running all these companies and da-da-da. So no, it's been definitely a breather for me. And I think it's like what we were talking about when, if you focus on doing one thing, I think things grow faster. So, now that I have my people helping me and full-time helping me, I think this, it can only get better now. So I'm excited for that. I always remember, I'm sure you've heard Brandon, he's always saying like the one thing, which is like the Dr. Oz, and all you have all these people in the emergency room and there's 20 people, but then all he does is walk in, does the one cut. Yeah, he does one cut, walks away. So I'm the new Dr. Oz in Lincoln.
Okay.
He's like, okay. But no, it's going great, man. So yeah, I'm excited with that. But
you could be the Wizard of Oz.
DHA. But no, I got a great book that it kind of goes with everything that we've been talking about. I took some notes. That's why I have my phone up here. But it goes with everything that me and you have been talking about, the whole mental thing, and then just little actions that change your life if you keep doing them. And so the book is The Compound Effect. Have you read that one?
Who's it by?
I have it here. Darren Hardy. So
I've heard of him, but I've never read that one.
Yeah. So, and the concept is you'll be like, oh, okay. Cause I'm pretty sure there's a couple other books that are on the same subject. But this book, and the great thing, bro, is, and I'm sure everybody watching, and if it's the first time you're hearing these concepts that we're talking about, it's easy to say, oh, well, that makes sense. It's like, duh, right? Like all these concepts we talked about, but it's like, yeah, it's that easy, but it's not that easy to actually execute them and do it. And that's where everybody has trouble with, because, oh, well, if it's that easy, then everybody would do it. But, the 3% Minority Report, I'll keep telling you. But no, this one is basically reaping huge rewards from small, insignificant actions. So basically the way he puts it is small choices plus consistency plus time equals significant results. So if you do little things day by day, every day, and I have some examples here. So actually, perfect example. The first one is a single penny that doubles every day for 31 days has a larger payoff than taking $3 million in cash right now. So think about that. Like, and it's like, it's slower, right? And because everybody wants this thing, like you go to the gym, you want to have a six pack tomorrow, but it's like, are you doing the little things, which is not eating ice cream at midnight, like we talked about? Extra dark. These are good, but yeah. So it's like the little stuff that you do that basically make a change in the future, and you don't see it overnight, obviously, and that's the hard part. But great. And I'm going to add a little more to this story that he has in the book. But basically, you take 3 friends who start at the same place, right? One makes no changes, good or bad, just stays where he's at. And then the other one adds a weekly beer to his diet and watches TV on downtime. The third one makes small changes like eliminating 200 calories a day, reading 10 pages of a good book daily. Obviously, at that point, I can guarantee you could tell me in 2 years who's going to be further. And that's just like little things. Right. Like, just, I mean, there, like I said, people think it's like, oh, well, yeah, duh, it makes sense. But it's like, no, like, but do it. Like, and that's the whole point with these books. And then let's see. And then basically choices are at the root of every one of your results. Each choice starts a behavior that over time becomes a habit. And that's where, the habit basically is the main thing. Once you make something a habit, it goes back to one of our episodes with Doug, where he said, if your habit is to financially be okay with your accounting and your bills and everything, it's a habit. So it's easier to kind of put it to the side. So always tackle whatever the biggest part of your life that you're struggling with. But to end it with that book, kind of like I said, with that story with the 3 friends, and it doesn't have to be, these big things, right? Like it could be as simple as you put 2 people coming from nothing, poverty, and both of them start working at McDonald's. One of them quits. Well, that dude that stayed at McDonald's and the other one didn't, and he's out doing stupid stuff in the streets or, whatever. Obviously, even the dude at McDonald's, you look at him 20 years from now, is going to be doing better. Yeah. So it's like the little actions that you can do day by day that over time,
it's a snowball.
You have the compound effect. So cool. What do you think?
That sounds like a good one. I got to add it to my...
Yeah, check it out. No, that was one of my probably top 5 books that I read when I first started reading. So, nice. But yeah, we have a special guest today, Evan Ellenwood.
I wasn't even going to interrupt you. We're on site too. So
yeah, we're on site. So let's bring him in. You did. We're just talking about being cozy. The last few on-site places that we've been at haven't had air conditioners, so this is amazing. Like we're living the big life, like the good life right now. But introduce yourself, man.
Oh, my name's Evan Ellenwood. I'm a newbie real estate investor, so just getting into it. It's been about a year now since I started my LLC. Wow. So yeah, I started July 1 last year is when I created it, and just starting to get into all this. And I'm a full-time at Kiyosaki. I work at I'm an engineer out there, so that's kind of my daytime gig. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And me and you met. I've done some contracting work, some construction work for you. So it's been great.
This isn't a testimonial.
Let go to a new era construction testimonial. And I'm sure we're gonna get into it in the show. But there, like the conversations that we've had, there's a lot of stuff that I want to touch on because. For one, I mean, you're sitting here being humble, right? Like, but right now, I mean, just if you could tell us how many deals you have just to get it going, but we'll go back to your story here in a bit.
Gotcha.
Because you were too humble right now. So, well, go ahead.
So I got 3 rental properties. First one was a single family. Then I bought a fourplex and a duplex that you were doing some remodeling on.
New era construction. Dan.
Shout out to yourself.
Shout out to yourself.
Shout out to New Era.
Shout out to myself. Yeah. So many goals.
And then where we're at right now is it's a fix and flip. So we're going through it right now, trying to get it ready to sell. So
no, that's awesome. And again, I mean,
all in 1 year. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been 1 year. So, and
he's a newbie, but let's take it back. I just wanted to clarify that because I feel like you came a little too humble. Like, a year, like you're doing great things. But let's take it back. So where are you from?
Originally grew up in Hastings, but we moved here maybe 10 years ago or so. Basically smaller town Hastings. I knew I wanted to be
H-town.
Yeah, be in a bigger city or whatnot. So, just moved up here. And
what was the decision behind that?
Just more opportunities and, bigger town and whatnot. But anyways, one thing that I was going to talk about was kind of how I got into the whole real estate thing.
That's what I was going to ask you, Evan. Why are you getting ahead of ourselves? Sorry. But shout out to New York Construction.
I'm editing all that out.
I hate not being the editor. But no, go ahead.
So like a lot of people, everybody's got their hobbies and whatnot. So, I was really big into cars, modifying cars and whatnot. So, I was getting to a point where, I was spending just about everything I made on this hobby of mine that wasn't, giving back really in any way. There's some enjoyment out of it or whatever, but, that put us in a pretty bad spot financially. So, we got to the point where, we were maybe $90,000 in, consumer type debt, the bad debt.
Yep.
So, we get to this point, where we're at, and my wife, she does some searching online or whatever, and she finds this guy named Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Let's talk about him.
So
go ahead.
So we found this Dave Ramsey guy and these, 7 baby steps. So, we're like, sounds like a pretty good deal. Maybe we should get on this and, try and get rid of all this bad debt. So, we headed down that road and, we paid off the 90 grand in about 18 months. So we got pretty serious with it. And, there was some sacrifices that went along with it, you know? So, I had a truck on payments, and my wife had a newer vehicle too. And we downsized, paid a lot of it off. I had a race car. I decided to sell it, paid more of it off. And
you went all in on the
we went.
What is it? The extreme money maker? Is that?
Yeah.
Right?
All in.
So he can get a shout out, but
I want to shout out Dave Ramsey, the envelope system.
I want to see him and Kiyosaki fight, like those boxing matches.
We should do like a Kiyosaki versus Ramsey.
Both, because and they both have great points. Before we continue with your story, I'm a big believer that if you want to get out of debt, Ramsey's where you should go. Like that, I feel like that's the first step. 90
grand in 18 months.
Yeah,
that's impressive
for sure. And I want to touch on that too. But Ramsey is great to pay off debt, get out of that shithole. But then once you do, I don't think his advice for wealth is all there. I think that's when you go to the other side. But go ahead.
So we got to a really good spot, paid off all our debt. Then I started listening to the Kiyosaki, and a lot of what he was saying making sense to me, because Ramsey's all about all debt is bad, where Kiyosaki, there's good debt and there's bad debt, and I definitely agree with that. That if you got debt on stuff that's paying you, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led me into real estate was Kiyosaki. And
so you had no family, friends, or anything that you knew of that were investors or anything?
Well, my parents, they do a little bit, but not a lot of it. We didn't really ever talk about it much until I started getting into it. Okay. So
do you ask them now?
There's definitely,
why didn't you talk to me? Because I would.
No, I haven't really reached
shout out to Evan's parents.
Just, now that, I kind of see what they're doing and, the type of deals that they do, And I was just like, why didn't you tell me some more?
That's what I was going to ask you. What was because there had to be some kind of conversation growing up. Like, what was the conversation? Was it get a job, go to college, get a job, or
that's I think that's the deal with a lot of families.
97%.
Gotta go to school, get good grades.
Yeah,
go to college.
While your parents were investors, so they still had full-time jobs.
My dad, he's always kind of had a full-time job. My mom, she's kind of always been a self-employed. Mm-hmm. She's always been self-employed. So she'll find little jobs here and there to do. She's got like her own interior decorating.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of the stuff they do to fix up houses, she does a lot of it and coordinates a lot of it. So
that's awesome. So are they doing that in Hastings?
They live down in Republican City, some small town.
Okay.
So
is that where they're doing it?
Yeah, they got property down there, Republican City, Alma. And just kind of around that neck of the woods, but
that's awesome, man. So little towns.
Little towns. Sure.
So, and if you could touch a little bit before we kind of move on cars, like if you could tell me what you experienced with cars, because I kind of went through similar.
I feel like you have a chip on your shoulder about cars.
I do.
He brings it up.
I do every episode.
Whatever you can, at least.
Every episode. No, because I think it's one of the worst investments that you could make. You know what I mean? And I learned that the hard way, and that's why anytime somebody asks me, I'm like,
Wait, how new is that truck you have, though?
Huh?
How new is that truck you have?
I'm sorry, it's cutting off. Oh, we don't have headphones. But if you could touch on that, man, because I think that's a huge problem in the country.
So, like a lot of people, they get into the whole car thing, and, it kind of snowballed for me. It's like, you buy this car, you do a few little modifications to it, and then next thing you know, this thing, you're spending so much money on it. And worst investment ever, really. There is some enjoyment you get out of it, but your money is not working for you.
Right.
So whatever you spend on it, you won't get nothing, hardly any of it.
Yeah.
So
So is that like the type of investment, like kind of the way I think of my opinion, I don't know if people might not get, but the way I think of like stock investing, I kind of feel like it's like beer money. Like if you're able to put $5,000 into whatever it is that you're doing, but you're okay with losing that money and you're not going to be missing any meals or not paying bills because of it. Is that like the type of money that would go into cars too, though?
For me, no. It was.
I miss a few meals.
No, it was more. I'd get my paycheck. I'd make sure everything's paid and everything like that. But basically.
The electricity was off a couple times here and there.
Sorry, the car's got a battery.
As much money as I could throw at it, because some of that stuff gets really.
So how did that?
expensive.
When you said you sold your race car, how did that? Like, what was that ROI if there was any? On that?
They had to be some kind.
No return.
Really?
Yeah. So I spent. Man, I kept track of it, which I probably shouldn't have, but I spent probably close to $60,000. Buying the car, fixing it up. All this stuff, and then sold it for 40.
It's like what? So, about 3 flips or something at least, and a couple
runs. What kind of car was it?
Exactly. It was a 1964 Chevy Nova. So it was a cool car.
At least a Chevy. At least I'm definitely gonna give it up for that. So once you get going with this Ramsey thing, I'll move on with cars because I'm getting a little sentimental here too with cars. So once you get with this Ramsey thing, once you got to that place where you paid that, that's up $90,000, you said?
Yeah.
That's a lot. And if you don't mind sharing, like what were you buying with that? Like what was
What kind of debt was it?
I'm assuming cars.
So I had a
rims.
loan on my truck and all the race car stuff. I had 6 different credit cards with all this money charged up on it, and other little stuff too. One of the things my mindset was kind of, I got this credit card for emergencies. So very little money in the bank, but I always had this credit card, so it's like I'll use that to fall back on and spend everything else on making my race car.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I've never heard of it being at the credit card as like the safety net, I guess. But I mean, that makes sense how someone could use that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But did you use it for safety net? I'm assuming it was.
Oh, there'd be there. You know, it's hard to remember what, because we did all that. Oh man, that's probably, I think maybe it was 2018 is when we got everything paid off.
And to help our listeners, I mean, if you could give us some pointers, or how did you get out of debt? Like what were the steps that you learned, that you executed?
A lot of the stuff that I found helpful from Dave Ramsey is basically learning how to budget.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's become a pretty strong tool. So I got really excited about budgeting and, you know, all the numbers, and, you know, I got all kinds of spreadsheets now that I keep track of stuff on. So I use all these spreadsheets for all my rentals and flips, and I keep track of, you know, basically everything I spend.
So tracking was like a major.
Yeah. So tracking was definitely major. And, you know, Ramsey's all about the zero-based budget. So it's basically, you know, you got everything you need to pay for in the month. You basically, whatever you make, you need to assign sign that dollar to something. So if you come down, you got $300 left at the check, put it into savings or use it to pay off that debt. So basically squeeze in everything you can, you know, just kind of reduce your lifestyle a little bit just to kind of throw everything at the debt, get it paid off.
So along with the lifestyle thing, I was like, my next question, what was the biggest sacrifice you feel you made during that whole process to pay that off?
I'd say the vehicles. I mean, my wife, she had a nice 2015 Cherokee and super nice vehicle. I had a nice truck, and then we both downgraded and I sold my race car. I'd say it was a big snowball to throw at it. Mm-hmm. So it helped a lot, but that was probably the biggest sacrifice was.
Yeah. And I love that, because there's so many people that will not do that.
They won't. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna get to.
They won't give it up. And, you know, I've said that to thousands of people, like, and my friends, family, like I'm always telling them, and I've had a couple of family, you know, members that now have done it, and they're like, okay, like this nice not having a payment, you know, and my thing has always been that it's like, this is what it takes. You got to sacrifice. It's not going to happen overnight. Like you definitely have to sacrifice everything. And then, you know, this is what it takes to get to the point where in the future, you're not going to have to budget as much, and you're not going to have to, you know, care what car, you know, like my truck, for example. But no, that's amazing. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And it's easy to get to that debt ratio. I mean, it's
easy.
So was your wife on board like pretty much right away?
Yeah. So she was the one that kind of found it online, you know, found the plan and showed me, and then, you know, we got on board. She was on board with it. So yeah, we both kind of knew and agreed like, yeah, we need to do this and we need to go all in basically. But
man, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, okay. So you pay all this debt off. I mean, I'm assuming you went out, like, did you celebrate with the credit card? Like, you know, dinner, pay for dinner with the credit card?
No, we really didn't do any.
I mean, that's amazing, bro. I mean, that's a lot. Like that was the first huge step to kind of,
yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, basically not having that hanging over us. And, you know, basically when we started looking more into real estate, you know, it's having, you know, the feeling, you know, knowing that you're in a good spot and you're able to do more investing and whatnot, put us in a good spot financially to start taking some of this stuff on. So
you found Kiyosaki, and then I'm guessing you read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, listened to it. Listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad. So yeah, that was an awesome book.
Did it just lights go off in your head and you're just like,
pretty much? And, you know, I watch at work. I watch a lot of YouTube. So I'm watching a lot.
Hopefully
of,
your boss.
Yeah, I was like, hopefully you're not listening.
a lot of well, I mean, we're able to listen
on
to
his
music
break,
or
on
whatever.
lunch
I
and
mean,
break.
We can listen to stuff while
Oh,
we're
okay.
Yeah, we've got engineers at work too that they're always listening to stuff while they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
But the majority of the engineers are probably listening to music, where I'm in
Exactly.
here trying to listen and learn and
That's amazing. I love
figure
that.
out how to get some of this stuff to work.
I love that. And if you look back, if you do that for like a year even or 6 months, you start earning these degrees in quote unquote that you can't get in college, and the crazy thing is you could expand that listening in so many different levels. You could go from work to or from home to work, that's 15, 20 minutes easily. I would say probably more. And then back. So if you do the math, you're in traffic for an hour. If you turn your I was gonna say your bus, I don't know why, your vehicle into basically a college classroom, I mean, you could literally, have a PhD, in financials and all this crazy stuff. And that's kind of how it hit me. Like any little chance I would get, like you said, is I just started listening to stuff that, that I would learn. And then a couple of years later, it's like, whoa, like you have this mindset that's, and like I said, you look at people differently, like, people listening to music when they could be listening and learning and
stuff. Yep.
So no, that's amazing. So what was your first, and before even your first deal, like, so you pay this debt off. So then, and you listen to Kiyosaki. So then what did you do next before you even found the first deal? Like, what was that?
So I knew, I got the realtor that we bought our home from. I knew him from dealing with him for buying our house, and I knew that he had rentals himself, and so I was kind of talking back and forth with him a little bit, and just some buddies talking about rentals and whatnot. Kind of all getting each other excited about it or whatever. But I was able to find my first deal on the MLS, so yeah, bought that, and we went into this whole thing thinking that we were going to do flips. So that's what the first one was we were going to flip it. But kind of ended up being a bad time of the year, but so it ended up being a rental.
And what do you mean by bad time?
So I think because I started the LLC July 1, I think we bought that house end of July. And by the time we were done remodeling it, I don't think we listed it till middle of September, maybe. Had a few deals or a few offers fall through, and it was getting to the point where it's like, I don't know if we're going to get this thing sold. So I listed it for rent, and we're kind of doing both channels just to see if, some offers still came up, but ended up finding someone to get in there like around December. So we waited a while to see what would happen, but
so you ended up renting it?
Ended up renting it. Yep.
How did you finance it?
So the financing for that one, so the good thing about paying off all this debt, and, we had a lot of equity in our house. So we basically pulled a line of credit on our house as much as we could. And I was able to use the whole line of credit to finance the purchase of the house and then the remodeling. So I used that line of credit to do all that. And then when we ended up renting it, I did a refinanced it and got some money back and paid some stuff off from it. So
you were still paying that.
Well, it was,
now he's like, now it's 150,000.
It's a different kind of debt in my head, but.
So what did the numbers look like on that? I mean, do you think that it sat too long? Maybe did you spend too much on the rehab? Did you buy it for too much, or?
Yeah, we probably ended up spending too much, and his first one probably ended up spending too much on the rehab, and the offers we were getting, it was just like, I'm only going to make $5-10 grand on this, so it's like, if I hold it, I'll get that money in, consistently every month, and I can hold on to it for a year and then sell it if I want to.
Yep.
So.
And that's what's lovely with real estate is that there's always like an exit, and I think that's why it becomes the safest investment that you could make, is because you have all these different choices. And it's always, I always say that the deal, it's not when you sell, like that's not where you make your money. You make your money when you buy. Right. And that's like, if you change your mindset to that, and me being a contractor, New York construction, but no, and with me being a contractor, I see this a lot where a lot of people or a lot of investors blame the contractors, right? Like, oh, why are you charging? There it is. Phone numbers. Why did the rehab? Why was it this expensive? But if you look at it, it's like, I mean, have you looked at yourself? Like it's like look at like when you bought is when the deal should have been, where the money should have been made, and it's a big. When you change your mindset that way. So it's not when you sell, but when you buy. And, just to kind of add on to the experience that you went through, do you still own that?
Yeah, still own it. Yep.
How's that doing? Like, so it's a rental right now.
It's a rental right now. So, one thing on my rentals, I try to follow the 1% rule.
Okay.
So,
and if you could explain that to our listeners, what that is.
So like the 1% rule is basically if you buy a property, say for this one example, buy it for 130 and you can get 1,300 a month, then you're hitting that 1%.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say all in on that property, we're probably around 125, and then we're getting 1,300 a month in rent. So we're beating the 1% a little bit.
Yeah. And how now with everything going up, how has that affected that house? So obviously, I'm assuming when you bought it, I mean, now it's a whole different, how much it's worth and all that. And
I'd say when we were trying to sell it last year, I think we were asking 140 basically. Okay. And I would think, now probably just the way the market is now, it'd be an easier, maybe 140 or 150.
Yeah.
So,
and just by holding it, which is amazing. I mean, that's a $10,000 difference, and that's where
and you've been paying it down. Your tenants have been paying your mortgage for a year.
Yeah.
So now you owe even less on it. Yeah.
And you're cash flowing right now. Like you've made your money, and I mean, you could always decide to sell it. We know a couple people that buy houses too. So, dude,
you're a plug in this
episode. I'm just a marketing guru today. What the hell's going on? So that was your first deal. So you got that done. So and like what were the emotions when you made that? When you made the decision of keeping it as a rental? It was supposed to be a flip.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a flip. And, it's like my wife, she was really hesitant about the rental thing. She was, on board for the flipping because.
And real quick, did you have that planned, like the exit, or was it like it was going to be a flip 100% and you had to change your mind after the fact?
So just from me listening to, YouTube and podcasts, I listen to a lot of Bigger Pockets.
Minority Report in there.
Yeah, that one especially. So
see, bro, I can't stop today.
I knew that, renting could be a contingency plan or a backup. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was
definitely in the back of your head.
It was in the back of my mind.
But you hadn't brought it up to the wife.
Not really.
Okay, so how did that go?
Like I said, she was hesitant about it because, dealing with tenants and all that, she was just like, I don't even want to deal with that. But, I think she kind of saw just the way I am with spreadsheets and running numbers and getting excited about all the rental stuff. She saw my excitement. So she went along with it. And, now she definitely sees the benefit of rentals and having that passive.
So
income.
since you guys started, your wife was on board 100%, or did you have to? I mean, it was great that she brought the plan to get out of debt, right? Like
right.
that.
Yep.
So basically, how has that worked out? That like your relationship, like is it
a lot better? Because it was having just that stress of all that debt. It's she'd tell me it kept her up at night, and she's like, "How are we going to pay all this off?" And and it's true. It can be stressful having that having that sit on your shoulders. So huge relief getting that all paid off, and she's excited about the whole real estate thing, and she sees the benefit and the potential.
Yeah. So the rental, so it got rented. Once that got rented, what was next? Like, how'd you move on from that one?
So we got that one rented, and then we were back on, trying to find another flip. So
back how? Like, you found that one in the MLS.
Yep.
What was your plan?
So basically, I had my realtor. He knew that we got that one rented. So he started reaching out and doing his thing, trying to find us the next property to flip. And we maybe looked at a few places, and he knew also in the back of his mind that I was really wanting to get into rental properties. So
so did that first property just flip a switch for you?
No, I think I always wanted the rental route, but we knew that basically do a flip or two to build some cash, and then go use that cash to go buy a rental.
Gotcha.
That's kind of our plan. So but anyways, we're looking for flips or whatnot, but then it was an off-market deal for a fourplex popped up, and it was just one of those things that acted quick on. And
that's amazing. So you went from a single family home to a building
to a fourplex. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And if you could touch on that a little bit, now it's renting.
100% occupied. Yeah. So the thing with that property, really long-term tenants. So there's one tenant that's been in there 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And then, a 10-year, 5-year, and then
what's the struggles with that?
So
I can talk about that all day.
For sure. So
inheriting tenants.
The tenant that's in there, that's been in there the longest, when I took over the property, one thing I did was ask, are there any current maintenance issues or anything I need to be aware of? And this guy had a laundry list of stuff.
He's like,
here it is.
So was it just the old landlord just wasn't taking care of it?
Well, I don't know if it was so much the landlord, but it's maybe the landlord and him, maybe he kind of helped out a little bit around the place. And I think the landlord probably used him to kind of do the yard work or whatever. But when I got in there, I had someone for everything. So he no longer had, anything to really keep up on. So I think he's just kind of was a big critic with a lot of the stuff that I was doing. And,
he was just not happy that
little stuff. You know?
No, that's amazing. Fourplex. That's
a big jump. Yeah. But so I know you've got more since then, right? But so how do you compare the management of a single family compared to the fourplex?
I mean, I think it really just depends on the tenant, because some tenants are easy to manage, they're just easy to deal with, but there's some that just try to make your life hell, basically.
And tell me I want to hear your guys' both thoughts on this. This is the way that I describe tenants. It's a marriage. Okay. So when they first come at you, right, like, oh, I need a place to stay, blah, blah, blah. You figure, once you qualify them and you give them the key, you're still at that honeymoon stage, right? Like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. I love this place, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Once it's time to move, it's a divorce, right? And divorces, I mean, I don't know, 80% of divorces are probably not the most positive. Yeah. So I always say that to people.
That's a good way. I've never thought of it. That's
I know. I'm gonna trademark that, bro. Don't be. I'll put that on my book. My book coming soon. start marketing again. No, yeah, and it literally that's the best way to describe it, because these people, like I said, love you at the beginning, and then at the end. And I'm not saying that all of them. There's always those good divorces too, right? Where it's like, but they'll crack a window and you charge them off the deposit, and they're like, oh no, and so anyways, there's that. But if you guys give me your thoughts on that, like,
I've got great tenants. I can't complain.
Just living the life.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. There's really only that single family house was the only one so far that I've had to qualify a tenant for.
So you've inherited everyone from all the others?
Yeah, the other one, Fourplex, I inherited them
balls,
all.
Man. Yeah. For a new guy too.
The duplex, though, when we're closing on that property, I got the closing statement from the title company, and generally you get prorated rents and deposits, and I got the closing statement, and the one unit didn't have any prorated rent. So I told the realtor, and they got together and talked about it, and oh yeah, he's behind, several months in rent. And I was like, oh, wow, great. I'm going to have to deal with this.
How should that go?
So,
well, shouldn't that have come up in the negotiation process or the due diligence?
Well, but this was at the end when you were getting ready to sign. I mean, it was probably closing day or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So had the original owners lied about the rent roll? Because isn't that something you checked?
Well, I mean, they told us what the rent roll was, but no, they didn't really say anything about that he was behind. That was never spoken to my realtor. So that was just a shock to us. So, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to kick this person out, because I can't have someone in there that's, behind.
How'd that go with COVID? I mean, and it was towards the end of COVID, but
yeah, I mean, that was basically April is when I had to boot him out. So, thankfully it all went really good, but I told him taking over, I was like, I'm going to get you out of here so I can get in and do the remodel. So that was the whole reason, that I told him to get him out, was I need to get in here, remodel and rent it.
Was that an in-person conversation?
Yeah. So that was
how did that go? I mean, that's because you're telling me, like, hey, I'm kicking you out and I'm moving in.
Right.
How did that go?
Oh, it's like going over there and, the nerves are just like, I don't know how this is going to go. And it could either go good or it could go bad. And, I don't know if I caught him at the right time of day, but.
Did you offer anything?
So I basically told him, if you keep it up, keep the condition of the house the same.
Like, if you keep it up,
I'm gonna show up with some goons.
If you keep the condition of the house the same, I was like, I'll give you your deposit back. That'll help you get into the new place. So,
did you get the deposit from the previous owner though, at least?
Yeah, a portion of it. So yeah.
So it was cash for keys.
Essentially,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, if you guys touch on that, because that's a great.
I mean, I've done cash for keys. I mean, unless you want to explain it.
No, go for it. Yeah.
So I actually had a deal where I had was buying a house. I was gonna flip it, and I bought it from an old couple who they were in their 80s, and they wanted to they let their son just take the payments over in the house because they couldn't keep up with it anymore, and they moved into an apartment, and he just decided not to pay. And the only foreclosure I've ever done, or the only deal I've done, was been a pre-foreclosure that they just don't want to pay.
Yeah,
but the true owners did, but their son just kind of let it all go to crap. But he let the house just look terrible, and he wouldn't come to the meetings when I was trying to talk to the parents and him about trying to set up a plan for buying the house and him moving out.
He was just not with it.
Yeah, he just wasn't having it. And I remember sitting in the living room with the parents at the house because he was supposed to be there. And these like nice old couple, like, yeah, he's supposed to be here. And so they call him and I can hear him. They don't have him on speaker and I can hear him on the phone like, fuck that guy, bro. I'm not coming on. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be great. You know?
Did you do the Evan method?
Yeah, like, we keep this up. My boy Evan is going to come over here.
I'll have to keep your number for that, bro. I'm going to need a couple divorces.
No, but he's just like, I can tell you, I'm like, man, this is not going to be good. And immediately, the guy that was kind of holding my hand through that deal, he was also the one bringing the money too. He's like, look, man, you're going to have to offer him some money. And even with, I think I offered him, I want to say $1,500.
Jeez.
I was like, dude, like, and because I ended up texting him. I look, man, like, I'm not trying to just
put
you out on the street. Huh?
Actually, go ahead.
I texted him, like, look, man, like, I'm not trying to put you on the street. And it was really more of like a man-to-man conversation. And he just didn't want to meet with me in person. And so I was like, how about we just like meet at a bar, just have a drink and talk about it. And we did that.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, he showed up to the bar. He showed up to the bar, yeah. And we just talked and I looked, man, like, I'm not trying to put you out on the street. I was like, this house just needs to get rehabbed and I can't have you here, but you know. And so I told him, look, man, I'll give you $1,500. I was like, by this certain date, because they had the guy was kind of like a hoarder, and so the whole backyard was full of just scrap metal and all sorts of crap. And I was like, look, if by this date you have the yard cleaned, I'll give you half of it. And if by this date you're out, I'll give you the other half. And my biggest thing was like, I didn't want him, you know, putting concrete down my pipes or smearing shit on the walls. You know, people do some horrible stuff.
Yeah.
So even with offering that, he got that first half, but he didn't leave on the day when he was supposed to leave. And I don't really remember what I said to him that got him out. I don't remember what it was. Up. It was something. It wasn't like that because actually the guy that was holding my hand through that whole process. Because I was, you know, at that point I was like, look, man, like now it's getting personal, you know.
And, you already gave him half,
right? And of course, like, you know, anybody wants to show up there with like your buddies and like, dude, come on, you gotta get out. Like, let's go. Evan's here, you know, Billy's here, let's go. You know. But no, I mean, he just still like wouldn't do anything. And I don't remember how I think he just kind of got tired of me bugging him. And like I said, the guy holding my hand through it, he's like, look, man, like you can't threaten them. You can't do any, like you know, he doesn't have any legal rights to be in the house, but he has these freaking squatter rights, you know? So for the most part, I think cash for keys is a great way to get people out. It incentivizes them, but it's not a surefire thing. You also have to have people skills because that is a tough conversation to have with someone. Yeah.
And especially showing up like that. You know, you know, if anything, one thing we're learning is, now with my doors, I see why the bigger management companies do the letters and, you know, not even phone calls or texting, you know, just keep it more business. And that's kind of have been my strategy lately that we've talked about a little bit. And honestly, it's worked out like way better, you know, and I just love people, but it's hard to deal with people that are complicated like that. Right. So thanks for explaining that. That's definitely a method, you know, when you do inherit people that you want out because you have to go in there and you know.
How did you finance this one? I don't think we covered that.
For the duplex?
Mm-hmm. Or the fourplex? Or wait,
both.
Well, either one,
yeah.
The fourplex, it was just your, you know, standard conventional loan, 20% down. Mm-hmm. So
right now you have that duplex as a rental. And then we're sitting here. If you could give us real quick rundown of this, like where are we at? What's going on here? So and just basically number wise, like what are you going to do with it? And
right. So it's kind of a funny story because when we were searching for flips, my realtor actually brought me here, and it was a property that I think a wholesaler had. So he was wanting at that time, I think he was wanting maybe 125 for it. And I think we moved on. And then I think that's when we bought the fourplex, got that bought. And then the person that had bought this property I don't know if they were going to flip it or whatnot, but someone else had purchased this. And he had actually reached out to me because we were looking for a flip again. He reached out. So it was kind of funny because I had the realtor show me, and then this other investor said, hey, I got this property. If you want to look at it, I'm asking 130. So it went up a little bit. And I was like, no, don't make sense at 130. So we kind of moved on. And as my realtor's, giving me deals, he gives me that duplex, and just doing my digging around on GIS, county assessor, I saw who owned the duplex, and I was like, that was the same dude that was trying to get me to buy this house.
Nice.
So I ended up basically offering, because he was wanting 100 for the duplex, he was wanting 130 for this. I said, you know what, I'll give you the 100 for the duplex, but you give me the house for 120, and we got the deal done. So got a little better price on this one.
Amazing.
So
that's cool. That's really,
yeah.
that's really
And basically all it took was just a little bit of time, do some
little
research, and and look how far it got you. So if you don't mind sharing, what are you thinking of selling this, and what are the numbers there?
So this one we bought
because it's a flip, right? You said
it's a flip. So bought it 120. I think by the end of it, we'll probably have maybe 25 or so into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're planning on listing, I think, this is back when we bought it, we were thinking about 175, but I don't know with this, the way the market has just from earlier this year has kind of gone off. I don't know if maybe we'll up it a little bit or just
it's kind of hard to tell right now. I feel like we were just talking about the other day how you can try running comps, but you don't really know what things are going for.
Because even just 6 months ago was different. A year ago was different for sure. So that's amazing. And so this is why I said you were very humble, like by saying, I just kind of do it on the side, blah, blah. I want to touch on how it is to invest, having a W-2 job. And I mean, you're doing all this crazy stuff.
Well, he doesn't do much at work there. He listens to YouTube.
That's all I do. No, I mean,
if you could talk on that a little bit.
So I don't know. I'd like to say for myself that at work, I'm pretty efficient with my time. So, I can knock stuff out, get stuff done, progress projects at work,
listen to YouTube
quickly and whatnot. But, everything I hear from my bosses and everything, you're doing a good job, keep it up. And, it's the one thing I've been thankful for is, for contractors that can text during the day.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, bro.
It's hard for me to, you don't really want to be at work and, pick up the phone and talk about, all this investing and remodeling and stuff that you're doing on the side. So it's good when contractors can text you. And so a lot of that's been good, being able to communicate that way.
Mm-hmm.
But then, besides that, it's a lot of after work, if I got to run and grab some stuff from the store and deliver it, I'll do that after work, drop it off. And, some weekends I'm here doing little stuff or planning stuff.
And I think one of the conversations that we had was how what I love is how you've been pretty good about kind of having the money work for you. I told you that the other day where you're pretty good at even if it's actually going back to that duplex, you did mention that you had to pay, people to move out the stuff. Mm-hmm. That's definitely, can you touch on that? I mean, is that something that you recommend or is it because of the W-2 and how is that working for you?
So we knew, having the W-2 job, that takes up a good chunk of your day. So, we kind of decided that going into this, that we're going to try and basically sub it all out. We won't do any of the work. We'll try.
So that was when you started, that was part of the plan.
Yeah, that was part of the plan. That's what we did in the first one. So, it's kind of been what we've been doing.
That's really admirable. I just want to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but a lot, and I am guilty of it too. When I started flipping, I'm like, I'm going to save every dime I can by doing all the work myself. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool that you're able to see outside of that little, because really, I mean, I don't want to say rehab is a small portion of any deal, but it's not just about the rehab, and then your time is also has value to it. So you're able to see that and just start out with good habits. Because I feel like I have a bad habit now, because I've told you several times, like it's hard stepping out of that role now that I've done it so much, and I have to retrain myself. But you started like with the right habits
right off the bat.
Yeah, like what you said, I don't know when it happened or if it was when I had my first kid, but my time just is so valuable to me. So if I can pay someone to do this, but I get to spend time with my kids.
Yeah. It's worth all the money in the world for sure. That's amazing. So you said texting is something you've taken, or good with contractors or whoever you're dealing with. What other, if you could touch a little more on like just the good and the bad, a little more pointers on that, on having that W-2 job and doing all these, the flips and the rentals.
So,
and maybe even touch on like some stuff that could help our listeners out there that are in the same boat.
Right. So, I see advantages to doing a lot of it yourself because, you control when stuff gets done, how it gets done. And then, some cons that could come about from hiring it all out is, they could come and go from the job. And when you're on a timeline and you want to get stuff done and, they got other stuff pop up or whatnot. And, you're trying to get them back on your job or whatever, that can be difficult at times, but I don't know if it's a balancing act or, kind of weighing the pros and cons of each, but I just kind of see, if I can pay somebody to get all the work done, I'm not making as much money at the end, but
see, and this is something that, to kind of go along with that, it's like, there's so many people that worry about like, we're going to spend this much on tile or floor or paint. But if you think about it, 5-10 years from now, is that really going to be a freaking problem? Like, are you really going to be thinking like, man, I spent so much on paint, or, like if you think about it 5-10 years from now, you're going to get your money's worth out of that, and that's why it actually perfect to go along with that book earlier. It's that compound effect. Like, you're kind of doing all this stuff now that obviously in the future is just going to compound.
Makes
for
it
you.
easier.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how do you obviously have to rely on contractors a lot with the structure that you have for your business. How do you manage like keeping them on time, keeping them happy? And because right now, I think a lot of people, unless you're an investor that is pretty steady, a lot of people are having trouble with contractors that they're so full of work right now that they don't even get back to you. Like, how do you attract them, I guess, so that they can do your jobs?
I'm working on that. I'm not quite sure because, the stuff we've done so far, the guy that's helped us has been really good. And I don't know if it's just this year itself that people are just bogged down with a lot of work. And, I've like this flip in particular, I had him on the job. He's kind of been back and forth and, he's off doing other jobs. And, I haven't really found a good way yet to get him back here, but
still figuring it out.
Still trying to work that.
And it goes back to communication. I think on one of our podcasts, we talked about it. It's like, even if it was just a quick text, like, hey, I'm busy, but,
I guess since you were a contractor, what tips can you give Evan? Like, how does someone like him keep someone like you wanting to do his jobs?
I think, and me and you have talked about it, like, I'm big on like making things work, even prices and everything. Basically I'm looking more for the future. Like, I don't, if you call me to do something real quick, and you hire me to do it and my guys get it done, I'm not going to crack your head. Or if you tell me, hey, I'm thinking this price or that price, most likely I can wiggle out some room with my guys and, with my team and get it done. And, I think that, communication is key with that. And, a lot of people, it's easy to get offended in this business, right? Like if I send out a bid and it's not what you had in mind, or perfect example, going back to you bought wrong, like you bought the place wrong from the beginning, and now you're coming at me, and it's not my fault. Like, sorry, you bought it wrong, but I mean, it's going to take this much to fix it. Right. So I think communication is definitely key, both sides. And then you got to understand that if basically, actually, let me back up a little bit. I think me and Dan talked about it a little bit too. I've had clients that, are they my clients? Because I've had clients where I've gone the first time, right? Give them an estimate. Then they call me back again. I go the second time, and I give a new estimate for a new building that a new property they just bought. And then 3 months later, hey, can you come back? And at that point, honestly, I'm going to put somebody like you first, right? That's bringing me and my guys' steady business. Work. Exactly. Because each time that I went back, basically, the person told me, well, I used so-and-so. And then it's funny because they're not even happy with the work that whoever did.
But it was cheap.
Exactly. It was cheaper than what you said. And it's like, well, why didn't you talk to me? You know what I mean? Tell me, and like I said, I can go back with my guys. And so I think people forget that it's a relationship. It's like people need to stop looking at contractors as if we're just this, like we're a big part of the formula. We're a huge part of the formula. And that's where kind of like my key has been communication, because I'm an investor also, and I'm probably an investor first. And then the contracting, thank God, I have family members that help me run it, that make it easier for me. But I think if I could say anything, it would be that, like, keep them coming by giving more work, and also make sure that at the end of the day, we're all trying to win. And if you win, I win. If I win, you win. So let's work something out and communicate.
Gotcha.
So it's the same. It goes the same, I think. Yeah. But no, this is amazing. So you have all this stuff going on, Evan. What's next? Like, what's your plan? Like, are you, obviously it seems like you're in the middle of, wealth right now. And what I mean by that is, the first step was you paid all this debt. Now you're investing. So then what's next?
So I'd say what's next is, once we get this house sold, and then I've got the duplex, get it finished, get it rented. And I think we'll be back on trying to find another flip. So just to build up more cash to throw into another rental. But one thing that I do want to try and do, especially if I'm staying at my W-2 job, I want to try and automate everything as much as I can. So, if I could get in a relationship where, I buy a property, I send the guys over there, and they know, what the condition of the place, and they know, what needs to be done, and, the stuff I typically pick out or whatnot. I think that'd be good for me, just if I can automate that, as much as I can, just takes more load off me trying to figure stuff out. But yeah, just be
so definitely finding more deals.
More deals, more rentals.
And then, but why that route? Like, what's your end goal, if that makes sense? Your future goal?
The thing I like about real estate is you get this passive income, and you can use it now, right?
Yeah.
Where, being a W-2, I got a 401k, but the money I put in there, I can't touch it till I'm 65, right. So
if it's still 65 by then.
Yeah, right. And, who knows the condition of the markets and all that at that time. You might not want to pull your money out at that time. So, yeah.
So you're seeing like both worlds right now. The 401k and then the investing.
And you don't have plans to leave your W-2, like you're
not right now. It'd be nice, someday to be full-time real estate investor, but I don't know. I need something that's going to keep me busy.
And you know what, Evan, it's a huge point for everybody listening out there. I mean, what if you end up working your W-2 and then you do find this automation for this business? I mean, you're bound to do great things in life. Like, and that's one thing, like a W-2 doesn't have to be a negative thing. And especially if you enjoy what you do. Now, obviously, if you don't enjoy what you do, then you should probably get the hell out of there and probably find another W-2 job anyways. But I think that's what's amazing is that, I was talking to a buddy that I'm like, dude, even if you just buy one house every 3 years for the next 15 years. I mean, you live in it, you rent it, you go to the next one, and you do that for 15 years. I mean, you're better off with, than most people. And that's what I love about your story is that right now you're basically focused on building it, and obviously you're going to reap that, in the future, that compound effect that we were talking about at the beginning. So that's definitely amazing. So do you have like you did say something maybe in the future it would be something that'd be great. Like what's your goal with that? Like, are you thinking
like number of doors?
Number of doors, years?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. It's the one thing that keeps that interest alive is basically having my time. Basically right now, I go to work, I'm trading my time for a paycheck, where it'd be nice to get to a spot where you got so many doors and, maybe you got some work that you can do to stay busy and make a little bit of money. But then be all on your time. You know what I'm saying?
The freedom.
The freedom. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I've been experiencing lately myself is, having the time, but also when you love what you do, I mean, there's days where we go till, if you think about it right now, we're still going, right? Like, it's 7:00, but we're still going because this is what we love doing. Like we love, talking about this and so it's not a job, but in the future, potentially this is going to get us to whatever, and me and Dan, we've talked about it, but basically it's a matter of once you get to that point, it's like you love what you do. So it doesn't even matter if you're working late or whatever, because you just love it, and there's times where I'm recording at midnight, and it doesn't matter because that's, with my record label, like I can do that and I love doing it. So it doesn't feel like, I remember back then cleaning an office, and getting off at 1 a.m. I mean, I didn't want to be there at midnight, for that last hour, but no, that's amazing. So right now you're kind of just riding the wave, but for sure you're focused on growth. Like you definitely want to grab a few more doors, keep it going.
Yep. Yeah. Just keep growing, and, just all that money I get from all the cash flow, it just goes right back into the business. So I'm not trying to pull any of it out to use. So just keep that
paying for itself,
piling up.
And it's like the opposite of what Ramsey does, right? Like you pay this debt, right? And then it starts snowballing, like he says, right? So then all of a sudden, boom, you pay it off. Like
now he's doing the opposite with income.
Exactly. And then thanks for taking my now it's the income where thanks, bro. Now it's the income that now it's starting to snowball for you,
snowball in the right direction.
Which is it's like, right. But anyways, no, that's amazing. Well, do you have any other questions?
No, man. I think you really helped any listeners with like a W-2. Like I said, myself, I'm a W-2 employee myself. And real quick though, before we wrap it up, I also think it's a good thing to point out that you didn't make it seem so bad that you have your day job. I mean, a lot of people do hate having their day jobs. I think when we talked to Rebecca last week, she had some regrets of leaving her day job. It's kind of off camera, but we don't really speak of the benefits that you get of having a W-2 job and being an investor. The biggest benefit is the bankability you have. Banks love that steady income, especially if you're making good money. They love it, and they will loan money to you left and right. That's a lot harder to do when you don't have a W-2.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I keep in mind a lot too when I struggle with because I always struggle with the opportunity cost of being at a day job all day as opposed to going out and lead generating. But then I also think of like, okay, well, it'd also be a lot harder to get those loans if I needed them. So, these are the things that you got to educate yourself on. And
until you build it to that point where it's that snowball effect the other way.
And then when you get, someone's like I said, he's okay with his W-2 job, but we can probably talk to someone next week that hates their W-2 job. So now you're going to get two different perspectives.
Exactly.
And you can form your own opinion.
Exactly.
So just wanted to make that quick point.
Yeah. No, great point. And that's what I love about your story is that you're just building it up. And obviously, of course, you keep compounding that. It's obviously going to pay off in the future and you're going to build that wealth. And great point. Like I said, and I've even had conversations with some investors that are doing big things and they still have that W-2 job. And maybe, we've had conversations maybe during the time when I was getting ready to quit my job where they're like, that's amazing. I want to do that too. But then, a few months later we talk again and they're like, you know what? No, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to keep this job and just keep building. Yep. And I think the worst thing you could do is just focus on the W-2 job. Right. But you're over here doing both.
Well, the worst thing to do is nothing at all.
Right. I like it.
2021.
But where can people find you?
I'm pretty quiet. I don't really do a lot of social media or anything like that. But, I just got.
Is there anything in particular that you're looking for right now to buy that maybe someone knows about and they can throw your way?
Not right now. Right now we're just focused on getting this one sold and get that duplex finished. And then, it might be late in the year. Maybe stuff might slow down a little bit, but it'd be nice if we could find like another flip towards the end of the year, get it going over winter basically.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I have a couple questions that we ask all our guests every episode, and obviously different perspectives. That's why we love asking them. The first question is, if you had to look back when at your younger self, what would be the advice that you would give yourself?
From a year ago?
Overall.
I've, like just getting into this recently, it's like, I always go back and say, why didn't I not do this sooner? And it would be telling my, 18, 19-year-old self, like, don't worry about all the, don't try and keep up with the Joneses, basically. Don't need all this fancy stuff right now.
It's amazing.
Just, what you should do is, put your head to the ground, get a plan, and look at the long game and focus on that.
Yep. Love it. And then the next question is if there's a 3-step formula for success, what are the 3 steps or what are the 3 things that you should do?
3-step formula to success.
You gotta figure it out, Evan.
One, I think maybe is probably the biggest thing is to always be learning, like I said, I'm always trying to listen to YouTube and learn as much as I can.
Minority Report.
Exactly. So always be learning. And something that I like to try to do is I also try and listen to a lot of motivational stuff, and it just gets you pumped up and focused and, kind of just helps you get excited about your goals and
reminds you.
Yep. And third is probably to, write down your goals and, just don't focus on the near future. You got to always have a plan for, a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. You constantly got to be thinking about where you want to be in the future, because you don't want to kick the can down the road too far, just thinking about this year or next year is like, you got to be thinking about the long term. But
love it. And then last question, if right now where you're at right now, if you were to write a book, what would be the theme and the title?
Or the title.
No, both. I want both. I'm trying to find me. It's just a question.
If you keep it up.
If you keep it up, Billy.
So, for me, being on the Dave Ramsey side and then, seeing the Kiyosaki side. You know, if there was a way you could merge those two.
I love it. It would be
That'd
titled
be a good
If
one.
You Keep It Up.
That's right. That's all it takes.
I love it.
Little baby steps.
Actually, I love that. I love that because it's best of both worlds. And that's what I'm saying. You could, depending where you're at, but then if you mix, obviously, boom, you've got success because you're following both of those two worlds there. No, I love it. This has been amazing. Thanks for coming, man. I
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks for
seriously.
having me.
I hope you enjoyed the dark Corona that we brought. But no, anybody out there listening, make sure you guys subscribe to the Minority Report podcast, the IG, which is natural now, bro.
Yeah,
Just
it works.
moguls just out here doing it. But make sure you guys follow us on IG and then on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you could find a podcast. We're on there, baby. Let's get it. Vámonos.
My hand to please don't segregate. Dressed in a suit, I can't relate. Minority Report, can't ignore being rich from poor and your credit score. My hand to please don't segregate. Dressed in a suit, I can't relate. Minority Report, can't ignore.